possible. I'm Gautam Mukunda. Tonight on Greater Boston, school committee members are calling on Governor Healey to send the National Guard to Brockton High School as teachers complain that an uptick in violence has them fearing for their safety. One of those school committee members and a Brockton City Councilor against the move will debate ahead. Then, what is a showdown of former Jeopardy contestants? GBH's Edgar B. Herwick III joins me to battle it out and see if we both still have what it takes. And finally, Betsy Commiatti's son wanted to reunite with his birth mother for Christmas. We'll hear her story from the stage. The Massachusetts National Guard has been called to respond to national disasters, public safety emergencies, and war. Now, members of the Brockton School Committee are calling on the governor to send troops to the city's high school, where teachers and town officials say student violence is getting out of hand. I'm joined by one of those who opposes the decision to bring in Guard troops, at-large City Councilor Winthrop Farwell Jr., and one of the signees on that request, Committee Member Tony Rodrigues. Thank you for joining us today, both of you. Committee Member Rodrigues, I went to a pretty tough high school, and I don't remember the National Guard ever coming in. Why do you think that's necessary?
I think it's necessary because of the dire situation that's happening right now in the city of Brockton, and a lot of that has to do with the financial constraints that we're dealing with the deficit and unable to bring in proper staffing to make sure that the building is safe for all the students and the staff that are currently housed in the building.
So, I mean, I think we have some video of one of the incidents that's going around of a fight that happened in the school, and I see. I mean, it's you know, I mean, it's pretty bad. I saw some pretty ugly fights in high school, but I didn't see too many that were like that. We also have reports of of a teacher whose arm was broken when they were breaking up a fight. This is a pretty extreme. What has happened at the high school that lots of high schools have problems, but this is out of the ordinary. What's happened that it's taken it up to this level?
I believe a lot of it has to do with lack of discipline with a lot of students, and this all starts at home, and some of these parents need to be held accountable for these students' actions. There's a lot of we had a restructure in the district because of our finances, and we basically got rid of a building so it could house a public safety complex where we had 3 programs, and there wasn't no clear direction of how to address that and where we were going to place these students. One of the programs was the Champion High School, which is a school for kids that high needs, that have social emotional issues and anxiety. And it's supposed to be a choice high school for, to remove these kids that can't be in a large setting so they can get the proper education. And the school committee voted to send that program back to the high school where we removed some of these students. And that was the poorest decision ever. I didn't agree with it. And also my colleague, Mrs. Azak, but we're just one vote, and that was the wrong thing to do. And this is part of the problem. Not really thinking it out. And, the finances of the city, not just the school, put us into this position.
Councilor Farwell, you're opposed to this request.
Yes, I am. I for a number of reasons, disregarding the fact that the National Guard is a professional military organization, which I do not believe is either trained, equipped, or appropriate for a school setting. We have a brand new principal. He's been on the job perhaps 6 weeks. I certainly think we ought to give him a chance to get assimilated into the issues and the culture of the high school. This was not something that was fully discussed by the Brockton School Committee. I mean, they have a safety and security committee. They could have referred this to that committee and had the superintendent and the principal come in and ask them for a report within 30 days as to what they think should be the immediate steps taken. And lastly, and most importantly, we have an exceptional staff. I don't want the issues that are transpiring to overshadow the fact that from teachers to guidance counselors to cafeteria workers to custodians, we have an exceptional staff at the high school. And I think if we convene a group of people and listen to them as to what their recommendations might be, because the teachers know the kids. I mean, they have them in class. They know them well. If we listen to them, I think we can craft a plan that would be pretty successful.
Committee Member Rodrigues?
We've done that. It's been happening. Back in January 31st, myself and the four members, people like to call it now on social media, we requested that meeting. We brought those staff. It wasn't the whole body. It was 4 individuals on the board that requested it through the vice chair for us to have a safety meeting, and we invited the educators and the staff in the building to shine light of what's really going on. Not sugarcoating what's going on. Yes, I agree with Mr. Farwell. We have exceptional staff in the building, but it's my job and the committee's job to make sure that every student is safe, including our staff that is in there. And right now, it's not a time of waiting and trying to plan it out. March is next week. You know, it's meeting after meeting after meeting. You have literally 3 months left of school, and to keep having these meetings and pushing it off. And that's why we made that dire request to the governor through our chairman, the Mayor Sullivan, to get that the National Guard in here. You also need to take into account that the National Guard has been deployed by former Governor Baker to address transportation across the Commonwealth, where a lot of districts were needed transportation to drive buses. Across the country, you see the National Guard being used as substitute teachers because across the country, you know, there's the teacher population of educators is declining. With the city of Brockton, we can't just wait until a tragedy happens and then try to be active on it. We need to be proactive. And right now, where we are is to making sure that the students are safe. What's happening every day, I mean, the counselor knows, but, you know, I don't like receiving videos and tagged on social media and emails of daily fights. Students wandering the hallways like it's in between class when they're supposed to be in classrooms. When you look at 20 to 25 teachers not inside of the building, that leaves roughly 600 to 700 students without any supervision. 35 teachers called out. That's close to 1,100 students. What do you think is going to happen when you have teenagers roaming freely? And the staff don't have the support. So the support that we're requesting is for the National Guard to be activated to make sure that the school is safe. If the National Guard can be activated to transport students, they should be able to be in the schools, which they have been across the country. We use them for COVID. So that's where our request is. We can't have meetings over meetings and having certain people sitting in the rooms and certain members of the committee is not involved. You know, you have to know that the school committee is the governing body of the school district, but we have to work together. And there's a divide that started off that shouldn't have started off. You know, we should have hit the ground running with the deficit that we're dealing with, and it's being hampered by political.
Councilor, I want to give you a chance to jump in here, because even if you think that the Guard is not the right solution, and, you know, the Guard and their soldiers at the end of the day, this is a level of violence that the committee member is describing that, I mean, learning does not seem possible in that environment. I think a lot of parents in that school might say that referring it to a committee is not the right response.
Listen, I'm not suggesting we run the school by committee. I'm just suggesting that if you're going to suggest an unprecedented action of bringing uniformed National Guards people into the Brockton Public Schools, you should convene all the stakeholders and ask them for their input. And that includes parents, includes staff, certainly the new principal. We need to start enforcing discipline before we go to that measure. And we don't do that. We do not suspend children. We do not crack down on students who don't attend classes, who roam the hallways. We've got to get our house in order before we expect some outside force to come in and do it for us. And that is the school committee's responsibility. Mr. Rodrigues is quite right. And this has been going on for years. There are some school committee members who have been there 8 years, more than 8 years. He's been there 4 years, going on 5. And I think it's time for the school committee to send a directive to the principal, which they have every right to do because they can enact policies, and say, start addressing the frequent flyers, if you will, those who absolutely refuse to cooperate with the school code of conduct. Hold mandatory parental conferences. If we start bringing in those who just absolutely refuse to cooperate with their parents, I really think we're going to see a turnaround, albeit not overnight, but I think we're going to see a turnaround in the attitudes of the children.
So I think we could keep this conversation going for quite a long time, and I think the students and the parents at Brockton High School deserve deserve that conversation. I hope we can keep it on here and another forum as well. But Tony Rodrigues, Winthrop, Farwell, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Very much.
Next up, you may know Edgar B. Herwick III as the man behind GBH's Curiosity Desk. But his first claim to fame came back in 2007 on another TV show you may have heard of.
This is Jeopardy!
A few years later, in 2015, I joined the Jeopardy Club, and I won. So I've invited Edgar on to test my skills and see if we both still have what it takes.
Well, I think both still have what it takes implies that we both had what it takes to begin with. Now, you said you won. I did not win. I came in last and was limping to the finish, in fairness.
I would say there's no trivia competition that is more luck dependent than Jeopardy. So.
Well, I mean, it's luck dependent, but there's other things. So what was your experience like on Jeopardy?
It was a blast. I was up one of the last years Alex did it, and it was just a lot of fun. I'm still friends with some of the contestants, people who were on the show with me at the time. You?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of one of the things that you don't realize is going to be one of the best parts about going on Jeopardy. You know, they tape the whole week in one day, and so you're with this group of people, you're with them all day, everybody's into the game, everybody's excited. That's sort of what I remember most as kind of the best part, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I would say my favorite part was that year I got to list my occupation on my tax returns as game show contestant.
Did you really do that?
I really did do that.
That's amazing.
Yes.
I mean, that's like taking the opportunity.
Yeah.
So we do questions and answers all the time with the Curiosity Desk. And when I heard that you are a fellow Jeopardyite, I figured we would maybe do some questions and answers in the style of Jeopardy, if you're into it.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So we're going to play a little of our own version of Jeopardy. And I've got some questions I've worked up for you right here.
Okay.
Let's bring up the board. Here you go. Go ahead and select a category.
I will start with long odds for 100.
All right, long odds. And the answer is, this is the date you are least likely to be born, with the chances standing at about 1,461 to 1.
What is February 29th?
That is correct. February 29th, of course, Leap Day, which is a week from today plus 1 day, right? Okay. So interesting little side fact about Leap Day. The name for a Leap Day is intercalation. That is when you insert some period of time into a calendar.
That is a fact.
I did not know that.
A fact I will never use again, but good to know, yes.
That's what we specialize in here at the Curiosity Desk. Okay, choose another category.
Okay, let's do the 29th for 100.
All right, the 29th. The answer is slightly more populated than Arlington and just less so than Everett. This Bristol County city, Massachusetts' 29th largest, was once known as the jewelry capital of the world.
I'm proud to say that I have not memorized Massachusetts State and cities in order of population, but jewelry capital of the world means Attleboro.
That is absolutely correct. Attleboro, Massachusetts, the 29th largest city by population in the state of Massachusetts. Interestingly, named after a town in Norfolk, England, but that Attleboro has a UGH at the end. Our Attleboro dropped that in 1914.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there's some more stuff you will never use again. Just kind of trying to feed you some of those. All right.
The best type of knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. You got 2 more categories left here.
And I'll take lesser-known President's Day.
All right, lesser-known President's Day. Just celebrated President's Day. But this February-born U.S. president survived the Battle of the Fallen Timbers, the War of 1812, and a bruising 1840 presidential campaign, only to succumb to a cold and perish shortly after taking office.
So, Edgar, this doesn't seem fair. You're asking someone who's written 2 books on the presidency. So,
well,
let's go with...
So you know this one is what you're saying.
Who is William Henry Harrison?
That would be correct, William Henry Harrison. And of course, I'm sure you've heard the old wives' tale where people say, like, he caught his cold during his inaugural address, right? That's what people like to, that's the fact they like to throw out. I'll give you a counterfact. First of all, that probably did not happen, right? But his actual inaugural address was edited by none other than
Daniel Webster.
There it is. You even know that. You even know the extra fact.
Probably the most boring of all inaugural addresses, and that is saying something.
Is it really?
Yeah, it really is.
What makes it so boring?
Dreadful. Webster's comment upon editing it was, "I have killed the word factotum 15 times." So
gives you a sense of what we were dealing with. Yeah, fair enough. All right, you got 1 category left. You up for it?
Absolutely.
All right, so go ahead.
All sports is local for 100. Edgar.
All sports is local. Dubbed Pete Rose on skates, this Winthrop-born Boston University grad helped engineer a Lake Placid miracle on this week in 1980.
Oh, good Lord, no. I'm out on hockey.
Didn't write two books on any hockey players, just the presidency. This would be Mike Eruzione. Mike Eruzione, captain of the U.S. team in the famed Miracle on Ice. Here's your fun fact about the Miracle on Ice. It did not air live on American television. It was tape delayed. So they sort of went to, they went to great lengths to say, we're not going to tell you what happened. But the game had been over for like 3 hours when it aired on TV. That could never happen today.
If only Twitter had been around.
Yeah. But, obviously very famous moment in history. I think tomorrow is the anniversary. I think it was the 23rd of February when it happened.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So there you go.
And also a great movie.
Yeah, very, very good movie. And a very good job by you. I can see how you won Jeopardy.
Well, thank you.
So I understand that maybe there's more Jeopardy to be played here?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
I
heard a rumor.
Is the producers have sort of prepared something for us, Edgar, that since we both had our times on Jeopardy, they're giving us a chance to take another cut at that experience.
Yeah, so this was just foisted upon us at the last minute. But the deal here is, apparently, these are all questions that you and I got wrong in our appearance on Jeopardy.
And I think we have to have some words with them about the fact that the questions we got wrong and not the ones we got right. But okay.
Come on now. But here we go. I guess we'll have you start off and go ahead and select the category.
I will pick Gautam's Redemption for 100.
Okay,
Edgar.
Gautam's Redemption for 100. And the clue is, to know your horoscope, an astrologer needs your place and time as well as your date of birth so he can cast this.
What isn't that your sign? Like, what is I don't know that one.
That would be your astrological chart.
Oh, your chart, not your
chart.
Oh, there we go.
We're looking for chart.
Excellent. All right, and Edgar?
I tell you what, I'll go with Edgar's Redemption for 100.
Okay, and the question for you is take some pizza dough, stuff it with meat, cheese, and herbs, fold it over into a turnover, and you've got this favorite. Okay,
you're opening up some old wounds here, folks. This was very controversial. Even in the moment when this happened on Jeopardy, they stopped the game and had to go to do some research on this. At the time, I answered Stromboli. I believe the correct answer is calzone.
It is calzone.
Where I came from in Pennsylvania, a calzone is not a calzone unless it had ricotta cheese. And so that was my argument. They said a Stromboli is rolled, not folded.
Okay, and you know Jeopardy's a stickler for these things.
Yeah, there you go. So that one I remember. You want to?
I will take Gautam's Redemption for 200.
Okay, Gautam's Redemption for 200. Excellent choice. Let's bring up the answer. Puerile or immature? That's tough without knowing what the category is.
What is young? I mean,
let's say that the category is called words that start with I. Puerile or immature?
What is?
Like a baby, like a little.
What is an infant? Infantile?
There it is. Got it.
Oh,
infantile.
okay.
There it is. Infantile. That would be correct. Infantile.
And let's go for you, Edgar.
All right, Edgar's Redemption. I guess I'll go 200.
Once the Canadian Pacific Railway reaches this Alberta city in 1883, settlers began a, quote, stampede to live there.
Huh. I'm going to probably I probably got this wrong the first time by saying, what is Edmonton?
And you did say that, and I'm afraid it is Calgary.
It is still wrong.
It's all right.
I just really want it to be Edmonton. Of course, Calgary Stampede, I get it. I see the reference.
All right.
Fool me once.
And I'll do Gautam's Redemption for 300.
All right, bringing up the category. Gautam's Redemption for 300. William Dean Howells called him soul, incomparable, the Lincoln of our literature.
Okay, I don't know how I got that one wrong, because it has to be Mark Twain.
It is Mark Twain. That is correct. I don't know how you got that wrong either. But you got it right today, which is the important thing.
Ed, for you, Edgar?
I'll tell you what, I'll finish up the category for 300.
This Allied invasion of Normandy on June 6, 1944 was codenamed Operation this.
I should probably know this, and I probably still don't know this. So this would be codename. This is obviously very famous. I don't know.
It's the man in charge, the all the way at the top.
Eisenhower?
Operation Overlord.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Operation Overlord.
And Edgar, one Jeopardy player to another?
Yeah.
Always a pleasure.
Congratulations. I think you did well, and I'm going to go read some books on World War II and Canadian history.
Time well spent. Thanks very much. Finally tonight, Betsy Comyati's teenage son asked for a very specific gift last Christmas to reconnect with his birth mother. Betsy shared what happened next on GBH's Stories from the Stage. And we bring you her story now as part of a partnership with that show and this one.
It's Christmas morning, and I wake up in a panic. I've forgotten to do something really important for one of our kids. Minutes later, while our sons are still asleep, thank goodness they're teenagers and they sleep late even on Christmas, and my husband is groggily filling the stockings, I'm in my office on my laptop, desperately Googling the name of our son Teddy's birth mother. Why had I left this to the last minute? Teddy is 16 and recently has been asking questions about his birth history. He knows that his birth mother, who herself had been 16 at the time, had been too young to raise him. But it's as though he's starting to feel kind of a gap in his identity. Over dinner a month or so ago, I offered to do some research so that when he was ready, he might have a way to reach out. And rather than make a general promise, I said I would try to have information for him by Christmas. Amidst all the busyness, this had completely slipped my mind. And now I'm realizing it's going to be a lot harder than I had thought. The adoption agency we used went out of business, and they had been our only conduit for communication and connection. We had met his birth mother and her family ahead of time, and we had been at the hospital when Teddy was born, but ours was what was called a partially open adoption, meaning we knew her full name, but she only knew us as Betsy and Andrew from Boston. Each year we would send a letter and photos to the agency, and they would forward them on to his birth mother, and she would often send letters to them that they would send to us. The letters. Yes, they had stopped when the agency closed, but we still had a bunch of them up until Teddy was about age 10. An adoption counselor had suggested we put them away until he was older. I rushed down to the basement, and there, high up on a shelf, is a box marked Save. I pull it down, my heart's racing, I flip through all the folders, and there they are. I run upstairs and show my husband, and together, we write out a cover note explaining what these are. We wrap the cover note in the folder of letters and Christmas paper and tuck it under the tree. It's not contact information, but it is something, and I feel like it'll buy us some time to do the sleuthing that I had promised. After the other presents had been opened, we hand this gift to Teddy, and he slowly unwraps it and silently reads our note. He looks a little confused at first, but then as though it's dawning on him what these are, he asks if he can go upstairs and read the letters there. A little while later, I stand at his bedroom door and I see that he has spread the letters out in a big arc on his floor in order of dates. They're all neatly written on school notebook paper, many with colorful hearts and rainbows. It was clear that a lot of love and care had gone into them. I take in this scene of Teddy absorbing all that's in the letters. And since my older son and husband are absorbed in exploring their new gifts, I decide to go back to my laptop and continue searching. The problem is, she has a fairly common name, and there are so many results all over the country. Eventually, Teddy comes into the office, and I show him all the results, and he says, wait a minute. In some of the letters, she talks about a person she's dating. Maybe they got married. I think she mentions his name, and he hurries from the room. He comes back with one of the letters, stands beside me as I open up the Facebook search bar. I type in her first name, the second name that we know, and this possible third name, and hit enter. One result, just one. I click on the name. Many people have private Facebook profiles where you can't see much at all. Not her. Everything was visible. Lots of posts, beautiful pictures of her husband and young children, including a boy who looks a lot like Teddy. Deep breaths, tears in my eyes. That's her, Teddy. What would you like to do? Let's send her a message, he says. So I open up the chat box and I start typing. Sorry for this out of the blue message. Teddy's been asking about his birth history, and lo and behold, we found you. We gave him all the letters that you had sent and saw your married name. Sorry if this is creepy. He is an amazing young man. The adoption agency closed, which you probably already know, so we haven't had a way of writing to you. We hope you are well, and we wish you a very Merry Christmas. And I signed all four of our names, my husband's, our older son's, Teddy's, and mine. I look at Teddy for confirmation. Should we send it? Yes, he nods. But what if she wants you back? Mom, you're my mom. Like I've said something crazy. So I hit send. I know that at age 16, he can't legally be taken from us, but there is this connection, a biological connection that they share that I don't have with him. All afternoon and evening, we wait for a response. That night, when I say goodnight to Teddy, I hold him tight, wondering if I've made a huge mistake. If she doesn't respond, maybe he'll feel rejected twice by his birth mother. And then I start worrying about how she might feel getting this out of the blue message. Maybe she hadn't told her husband and children about the adoption. Maybe it was something that she had tried to put behind her and I was opening up something really painful. I should have given more thought before sending that message. I get more and more anxious thinking about the maybes, the shouldas, the shouldn't haves. The next morning, still no response. Then later, we're in the car and I hear that Facebook alert. Teddy, a message. It's a long message that begins with, "Oh my, I am so overjoyed that you found me." She wrote how heartbreaking it had been getting her letters returned from the closed agency and that she was starting to lose hope of ever connecting with us again. There is so much love for Teddy in her message. Several times she wrote, "You have no idea how much this means to me." And I don't know if she realizes how much her words mean to me and, of course, to Teddy. The next few days, we pore over her Facebook posts, getting to know her life, her family, her spirit. We learn that she has a charm bracelet with each of her children's names, including Teddy's. There's a new calmness and confidence that I see in Teddy. She was the one person who could help him understand his birth story, who could fill in that gap he was feeling. It's as though he now knows a love that was unseen, but still so strong. This feels to me like one more gift, one more precious gift she's given our son.
You can catch more Stories from the Stage Mondays at 9:30 p.m. on World and Fridays at 8 here on GBH2, or anytime on the Stories from the Stage Facebook page and YouTube channel. And next month, you can catch some stories in person at the Stories from the Stage Women in Action event. For tickets and more info, head to gbh.org/events. That's it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm Gautam Mukunda. Thanks for watching, and good night.
Next